Hello everybody, so today we're going to pick up on a project that has been in the back of my workshop for a bit too long, and it's this Datsun. So through not many fault of my own, this project ended up being a lot bigger than either of us anticipated, and it needed a lot more work. And when these cars come in for quick short in-out jobs and things escalate, I find it hard to fit the time in to them do it, because I've got obviously loads of other cars booked in, cash flow, etc, etc. So when you get something like this, it becomes a little bit of a pain, which things sit around, which I don't like to do, because once you stop working on them, the motivation sort of like dies down a little bit and things take longer. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is we're going to do some work on the Datsun today, and it is in the form of making a gearbox tunnel. Have I made a gearbox tunnel before? No. Why do we need a gearbox tunnel? Well, let me show you. So if you've been keeping up with the channel for a long time, you will know that this car came in. We put some arches on it. It came on hydraulics. We've taken the hydraulics off. We're putting a Rotary 12A in it. I had to do lots of repairs in the engine bay, and it's now got coilovers on it. So I actually put these on off camera, set of BCs from an S13. So they're all in there. Got the ride height set on the front, so that's where that is. And then we've got the rear all the way down as low as it can go, because I want to account for any squat or anything with the prop shaft. And naturally on a Rotary, the crank, we'll call it a crank, but I don't know what they call it, is really high up. So Rotaries are very gearbox high cars, which means that the gearbox actually protrudes through the chassis quite far. So as you can see here, we've got quite the gearbox in there, so we've got to make a new tunnel. Now obviously the prop shaft comes out the end of the gearbox there, and then that needs to go back to the diff. Now as you can see there, that really isn't okay, so we need to cut all the middle of the spine out, and then the prop shaft angle can go all the way down to where the diff will be around there. So this car came in for gearbox mount, engine mount, arches, coilovers, done. And it's ended up being like inner arch repair, strut tower repair, full gearbox tunnel, exhaust manifold, steering, clutch pedal, all this sort of stuff. So it has escalated quite a lot, which is why it's taken a bit longer, because I didn't account for it. So I've got some time now. I've cleared a backlog of cars, so we've got some time to do some work on here. So my plan is, I think I'm going to cut all the middle of this out, all the way up to the back of the rear parcel shelf thing. So I think the tunnel is probably going to end on that ledge here. So I'm going to follow the gearbox up from here, and that's going to go all the way down to that ledge up there, and we're going to make it like squared off, so to speak, so it's the same shape as that parcel shelf thing. And to do it, I'm going to basically get some metal bar, maybe some strap, I don't know, probably going to get some small box section, make sort of like a skeleton, so to speak, and then make the whole tunnel in sort of sections, and basically spot weld all of the panels onto the skeleton, and we have a little frame to work off, and it'd be easier to make it flat and level, etc. And I think the overall look will look a lot nicer once it's done, I think. We're going to use some box section, and now I've got to get this home. Whoops. So yeah, 20 by 20 box section. Next thing we need to do is cut the rest of this out, and I'm literally just going to cut the very top edge out for now. And then you can see the old prop shaft there. Now the prop shaft is actually offset ever so slightly, so we're obviously going to cut this out a bit wider, probably going to come out to about here and then follow where that bracket was. You see where that bracket was? I've just drawn a line on it now, but I'm going to cut all the way up there if I can. Obviously we don't have to cut all the way up there, but I'm going to finish it off up there because it will make it look a lot nicer, and we now have a big hole in here to fill up. Bleeding as well. Nice. Now looking at this, there's not really much rules to this. You can sort of make it up as you go along. So the one thing that I want to do is join the floor braces back up. So I'll have to go up and over, and then obviously where it goes up and over, it will tie in back there. But the rest of it will be sort of like make the frame and sort of like mate it to the floor how you wanna. Now I want to make the tunnel a little wider. I've taken the sound deadening off, and that's given me quite a nice cut line to go across. So I'm going to follow that line all the way across, and you can see there's like a line here. I'm going to cut along there, make the tunnel a bit wider both sides, and then we can start thinking about how to, you know, start the frame off basically. And then following on from that, try and figure out the best way to mate it to the bulkhead, because I want a round looking bulkhead, but we're making a square tunnel. So I'm not quite sure, maybe I'll make a cone or something that goes over the top there, but sort of like square it off up to here and then just do a little cone up there. I'm not quite sure. I'll figure out when it comes to it, but I think I'm going to make this bit first. I'm literally learning this as you watch it, so yeah, if I do something wrong, go easy on me. Right, some time has passed. I've cut a lot more out of the tunnel. As you can see, I've flattened this off here, kind of flattened that bit off there. Obviously going to build a pedestal up from here, so I'm going to start here, make sure I've got the correct height for the gearbox. So I'm going to basically come straight up to like here, and then as you can see here, I've already got the spirit level in the back, so we know that the car is level from that flap deck there, and I've got the jack on there, just leveling it out ever so slightly, so I can now start at the front near the shifter, get a brace in there and make sure that's level. Like I said before, I'm literally winging this and just doing what I feel is gonna work. The reason that I feel I could be pretty freestyle with this is that the floor itself is all kinds of shapes and it's not symmetrical side to side, and it is playing with my mind and eyes and some basic measurements. You can sort of figure out where we are. If you look here, the gearbox clearly looks to the left of the tunnel, right? Now, if you look at the floor, the passenger side has a massive bulge in it and the driver's side does not. And then, as you can see here, this bracket on the left in the middle is higher than the one on the right. That's where the seat back mounts are. Which makes me think, oh, everything's pissed. Is it straight? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm pretty sure I did get the engine straight, even though it doesn't look straight. And you got the measurement from the sill edge, end to end. We got just over 53 inches, so 135 mil. Not 135 mil, 1350. Now if you go here, we've got some accurate measure in here. We have half of 1350, 675. And as you can see there, give or take 1 or 2 mil, we are bang on. So that is the center of the diff gearbox situation. And if you look here, this tunnel actually comes to the right and then like that, so that's obviously because our diff is offset. So yeah, it all plays with your eyes. I'm just going to try and make it look as symmetrical as I can with the floor that we've got. It definitely plays on your eyes, but at least now we know that when we come up with this upright, we can find the center of that, and then we can follow that into this bit here. It's very warm today, not the day to be grinding and welding, but that's where we're going with things, and that is what I'm going to do. So this needs to be a foot high to clear the gearbox, so I'm going to do some cutting, some measuring, and I'll join you in a sec when I've got a little brace. Here we go, first cross brace welded in. Now it's still a bit wobbly at the minute because it's literally just welded onto the side here, both sides. The strength will come from when we triangulate it. At the minute it's obviously quite high and just on this little thin bit of metal. Got a level box on the side here, 8375. 8370, 70, depends where I'm sat in the car really. But yeah, close enough. Now what I'm going to do is going to go from here to here. Obviously this width here is going to basically taper all the way back here, so I'm going to do this. This is like 140 mil. I'm going to come back to these two bolt holes here, which are just over 100. So there'll be a slight taper as it comes through here, and obviously from here to the bulkhead will get wider as well. So it's going to look like pretty decent and not just look like a box. So yeah, we'll do that to there, and then we'll put a brace in at this bit here. Nice. And it's also downhill like that, so it should look good. I'm excited. There we are. We have sort of a frame starting. So it's now pretty strong. You can stand on it. Well, I wouldn't stand on it, but it's obviously triangulated. You can see it goes slightly downwards towards the back of the car, and obviously it tapers in a lot shorter and skinnies up back there. So I've obviously offset it ever so slightly lower, so when a flat piece of metal goes on top, it's flush with the top of the boot floor thing there, and that bit is pretty happy. Now once this is all in and said and done, this bit underneath here is going to get cut out, but I'm not quite sure if there's like brake lines and stuff on that back thing, so I'm going to cut that out the car when it's on the ramp, because I can panel this in and then cut it out underneath anyway. It's not the end of the world. The diff is also sat on that little bracket there at the minute, so I don't know, maybe I don't have to cut it out, but dirt will literally go up into that bit there. Maybe I'll just trim it a little bit so dirt doesn't get collected up there or whatever. So yeah, that's one of them. Now to put the brace into here. There you are. Middle brace is in. Done an extra brace at the back here. Yeah, well, that is our rear half of the tunnel sorted. We can basically panel on the panels around the edges of that now, and fill all the gaps in. So I think from here up to around this bit here, where the gearbox sort of squares off where that ridge is, I'm going to make this bit tapered, so it will go square up to here and then stop there, and then it will taper up to the bulkhead, and I'm going to make a little solid bar that bends around that bulkhead in a nice shape, and then we're going to use that as a reference point. So I'm going to go get some bar and start wrapping it around the bulkhead. Tedious, but I think I've got a plan. Ignore the engine, it's leaning over, so if we sit that like that, that's where it is going to sit. The bulkhead shape is alright, but we've got this clutch mechanism that we need to account for. So what I think I'm going to do is just go ever so slightly bigger, like up to that grommet, follow it round and just make the tunnel a little bit bigger. And this heater core, coolant pipe, is going to be no more because we don't have a heater matrix, so ignore that. Go a little higher, and that'll be our new bulkhead. Got a bit of steel rod to make the bell housing shape. I'm going to wrap it around the Ami's tyre, and that will give us a nice curvature. Put it in the ridge of the tyre, like so. Now that way, get a round-ish bend. A little kink in the middle there, but we can straighten it out, should be fine. Well, as you can see, I changed my mind with how I wanted to do the gearbox tunnel. Very last minute, I couldn't really figure out the best way to do a tapered bell housing without this area looking like it just sort of like flattens out. Because, as you can see there, the bell housing is a lot lower than where the gearbox tunnel finishes. Now, obviously it doesn't need to be cut all the way up there, but it would look silly up here. So I wanted a continuous line all the way to the back, so it just looks neater. And then what I'm going to do is, once all is said and done, engine and box will come out, and that gearbox tunnel edge can be tidied up. I'm going to put some of that metal bar in there, and then just roll the bulkhead around the steel bar, and weld it shut from the inside, and it will tidy that up, and you won't know that the gearbox tunnel is so high. But now the frame structure is all said and done, I can now work on paneling it back in and tying the whole thing all together, because that is when it will look like a thing and not just some box section in a car. So yeah, that summarizes this video really. The next point of action is obviously, like I say, paneling in this tunnel. You got basically 3, 6, 9 panels to fit and make and bead roll, and it's going to be quite a long duration to get it all fitted, especially blending it back into the floor. I will do that in another video, and we'll get a finished result, sort of finished article of the tunnel at the end of the other video. But this is how we're starting it, and I'm sure quite a lot of you will have some questions why I've done it this way, or you might think, yeah, that's right. I did put some pictures of this on my story on Instagram, and I had a few people ask me, why is it so tall? Now, main reason it's so tall is because, the shifter height needs to be that tall. So we're going to have a metal sheet on top of there, and then the boot is going to sit around there, so we don't get any, heat or dirt or exhaust gases through the shifter, basically. So that bit needs to be there. And going down all the way down here, we can't, because the prop shaft sits about here. So we've got a bit of space above it. And the rest of it is quite literally aesthetic. It looks a lot taller than it actually is, but the fact is that there was basically no tunnel to start with. The tunnel was like this tall, so it's not actually that much taller than you imagine. And with a seat in, this is going to be quite literally a perfect armrest, and yeah, I think it's going to look really good. It looks a bit ambitious at the minute, but it will figure itself out, and it will make sense. So like I say, we've got 9 panels to make. That's going to take a while, so I'll do that all in another video, and making it all into the floor is going to take a while as well. So I'll get it all done in like one video and show you the finished article. In an RX-7, any car with Rotary, the tunnel is always really high and the seats sit really low. So that is Rotary things in general. And I just basically knew that this car, it was going to be slightly race car. It's getting a cage, it's getting bucket seats, and it's not going to have a back seat or anything. So that's why I've tied it into the boot floor. It will look good. Once it's all bead rolled in, it'll make a lot of sense. But we now have a lot of room around the prop shaft, a lot of room around the gearbox, so it's nice and easy to work on. And in here somewhere as well, there will be, swarming an exhaust as well, so it all helps regardless of how high it may look, but it's all good. So yeah, rambling on now, but there's my thoughts before you ask the questions of why. That's why I'm doing it. It's what it is. In other news, it's a Saturday afternoon, and I'm about to start doing some more work on the 525. You've been keeping up with the progress on that. I'm doing a lot more work to this. This time next week, I want to be in this at Goodwood. The car's currently in a million bits, so if I do it, that'd be great, but I'm not holding out for it. And one last thing before I go. That there is another ramp, and no, it's not laying on Taylor's car. It's very close, but it's not laying on Taylor's car. That is a third ramp for this workshop, and that will go where the Datsun is. So that is all in hope of just being able to make things more constant and easier to work on. So yeah, Thanks very much for watching. I'll join you on Friday with another update on the 525. Thank you very much. Have a good weekend. Thank you very much. Have a good week. See you later.